Hi, everybody. It's Tim Constantine from the Washington Times, joined by David Moselle for America. Hi, David.
Hey, Tim, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you. How are you, my friend?
We're doing well.
You know, there was a time in America where the media, while they might lean a little one way or the other, actually looked at people's qualifications and tried to have a meaningful discussion. I think back to, say, George Bush, the first Bush that was elected president of the United States, and you look at his experience. He had been CIA director, he had been ambassador to China. I think he was chairman of the Republican Party. He was vice president of the United States. So even if you disagreed with his policies, you could acknowledge in that era that he had the experience, I'd argue probably more experience than anybody ever, to be president of the United States. More recently, the media and at least one poll has questioned whether or not Donald Trump has the experience to be president of the United States. And it blows my mind. I'm thinking, you might not like Donald Trump. You might disagree with his policies, but he served for 4 years as president of the United States. He's one of only 46 people to do that. Who could have better experience?
Right. I mean, Tim, Jennifer Harper, Washington Times, had this poll just the other day. I mean, the hatred for Trump is still real. And this is where, despite Biden's struggles, this is where the pro-Trump forces need to still be careful. I'm going to read. Think about The Atlantic just had a piece how the Trump campaign is preparing for a landslide. Slow your roll, okay? You still gotta win this thing. This is from Suffolk University. Jennifer Harper, Washington Times, had this. 63% of registered U.S. voters think former President Donald Trump has a vision for the country. Okay, I think that's a little low. I mean, he repeats "Make America Great Again" every 5 sentences. 60% think he can, quote, get things done. I kind of think that's kind of low. And the meat of it, 52% think that Donald Trump has the right experience to be president. And I mean, just like you said, if somebody had called me, if a pollster had called me after Barack Obama's first term and said, do you think he has the experience to be president? I said, well, yeah, I didn't like anything he did. And in the immortal words of Rush Limbaugh, I hope he had failed. But yes, he has the right experience to be president. I mean, for goodness sakes. So nearly half of the country is saying he doesn't have the right experience. That's just a pure hatred that's coming out. A low number here, 46% that think that Donald Trump will keep his promises, which I thought was fairly low, given all of the policy success that he had in his first term were basically all of those promises that he ran on in 2016. So I still think he has work to do. 33% of the country think that Donald Trump is honest and trustworthy. Okay.
That's an issue.
And 33%, that's an issue. 33% think he can, quote, bring the nation together. So half of the country doesn't think you have the right experience, and only a third, or reverse it, 2/3 of the country think you will not bring the country together and you're not honest. So I think there are significant speed bumps that Donald Trump still needs to overcome to win.
Well, and I think your point there is absolutely essential. At the very beginning of that, you said there are people in the Trump campaign that are already taking a victory lap. Oh, look at us, look at us. And I asked them to go back with me and celebrate Atlanta's Super Bowl victory over New England, because it was 28-3 at halftime. Woohoo, we're going, baby. And they lose. And right now, Donald Trump, it's advantage Donald Trump. He has an opportunity here with a lost Joe Biden to go ahead. And he seemed, I will give Trump great credit, he seemed more presidential, not with the golf discussion and so on, but more presidential during the debate than he typically did. He let Joe Biden trip himself up. He didn't feel the need to push him that hard. So I thought that boded well, and I hope he carries that through and serves as. But there's a long way to go. We've got August, we got September, we got October, and we got a week in November. A lot of things can go wrong in 4+ months. And then the final note is, we talked previously on a previous episode about media malpractice, how they're coming out now talking about how Joe Biden, well, yeah, I saw this 6 months ago. I saw this a year ago. Oh, he hasn't done this. Oh, he's mean. Even staffers have been saying this. He's really mean. Nobody dares to tell him things because they don't want him to be mad at them. And I'm thinking, A, why is this all leaking now? But B, was anybody doing their job? Why are they putting this guy up as a candidate if they all knew that months ago? So my question for you is, even if another candidate is chosen to run against Donald Trump, even if a different, whether that's Harris, whether that's Newsom, whether that's Michelle Obama, it doesn't matter. Can we expect the media to be honest with us about whomever that candidate is?
Oh, flat answer, no. I mean, look at Chuck Todd the other day, former host at Meet the Press. He goes on some podcast and he says, his performance, Biden's performance at the debate had me really questioning his biography. And now I'm wondering if his biography is legitimate. And I'm thinking, you liar. You sat and interviewed Joe Biden dozens of times on Meet the Press. You had every opportunity for years to look into the biography of the Vice President of the United States while you were interviewing him, even when he was senator. All of a sudden, you're questioning what Joe Biden has been telling you for all these years? How dare you? How dare you try to insult the intelligence of your audience? And shame on any audience that that hears that from Chuck Todd and says, oh man, you're right. We were bamboozled. Shame on you. Have some wits about you.
Chuck is a hell of a Washington insider if he's just picking up on it now.
Oh my God. Look, I've never met Joe Biden personally, okay? And nor would I want to ever. But I've grown up in this city, and everyone that knows him to be two things. One, a compulsive liar, and two, an angry son of a bitch. I mean, he's a mean dude, right. And he's always been that way. And everyone always says that about him. And for Chuck Todd to say, wow, gosh, I didn't know that he was struggling physically. How dare you? I mean, Tim, we've touched on this a little bit, but and I hesitate to say this on the air, but the fact that these guys are so brazen about potentially being tricked by the Biden operation, we could very well be watching a coup in real time. Orchestrated by whom? I don't know. Maybe the Obamas. Maybe they want back in. I don't know. You mentioned earlier on another recording about why would a Biden agree to doing a debate in June? And I thought about that afterwards. I thought, yeah, why did he agree to do a debate in June? Who convinced him to do that, right? And so an honest press would be drilling into those questions. Who convinced you that doing a debate earlier than ever before your convention was the right idea? And that's where you start to follow, if
the breadcrumbs. I said this to you off air. I don't think I ever said it on a broadcast, but I said to you back in about January or February, I said I was taking notes all year this year for purposes of writing a book at the end of the election. But I said the reason I'm carefully writing notes day by day, week by week, is because I expected huge twists and turns on the road to the election. And we've seen it, and we're going to continue to see it. And I remember saying to you then, I don't know whether we'll have either of these guys or both of these guys or neither on the ballot. And it's an interesting year. It's certainly an historic year, but I don't think anybody, well, let me correct that. The puppeteers behind the scenes on the Democrat side have a direction in mind. Other than them, I don't think anybody knows where that party is going to end up come September.
Yeah, and I mean, just where are the honest brokers, right? How can you look at me, Joe Scarborough, with a straight face and say in May that this is the best Joe Biden that you've ever seen, and then 11 days later, I don't know who that guy was. I mean, how could you? I mean, how could you host a morning show? How could you claim to be, in the know? If when you're making those two comments 11 days apart, it belies credibility. And frankly, they've lost most of these networks have lost credibility for quite some time. Are they trying to get some back? I don't know. Or are they part of something bigger that we're just sort of watching unfold in real time? That's, I think, the question really to be asked.
For America, he is David Moselle. For the Washington Times, I'm Tim Constantine. Thanks for joining us.